Assalamu alaikum. Hello kids. How are you today? Are you ready for the next story? In the last episode, you learned about the birth of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Insha'Allah, today I am going to tell you the story of how the Prophet got married to Khadija radiyallahu anha and many others. Are you ready, children? Now listen carefully. Bismillah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam becomes a merchant. In the last episode, we learned how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam grew up and became a well-respected young man in Mecca. The Prophet took employment with Khadija radiyallahu anha and traveled with her merchandise to Syria. Khadija radiyallahu anha sent her most trusted servant along with the Prophet to keep an eye on him. The Prophet visited many new places and markets on his way to Syria. Finally, he reached Syria. The Prophet was amazed when he saw the market. It was much bigger than the one in Mecca, and it was so crowded with people. The Prophet and his assistants set up their merchandise for display, and it was soon crowded with people. People were really impressed with the Prophet's demeanor, and they loved doing business with him. They were able to sell all their goods on the very first day itself. The next day, when the Prophet roamed around the market, he was really impressed with the quality of products being sold. He had an idea and bought some goods which he thought would get good profits if he sold them in Mecca. When it was time for his return journey, the camels were loaded with the new merchandise and they left Syria. When they arrived back in Mecca, the people were amazed by the merchandise he brought with him. The Prophet handed over the goods to Khadija radiyallahu anha and gave her a full report of the journey. Once he left the house, she called her servant and asked about the Prophet's conduct. "I have never seen such an honest man," replied the servant. "He treated me with respect, and he was very kind to everyone. He was well liked by the traders in Syria, so he was able to sell all our goods easily. Then he bought other goods with the money earned and sold them again, thus doubling the profit." Khadija was extremely pleased with the Prophet and his skills. She then paid the Prophet wisely and sent him back. Khadija fell deeply in love with the Prophet. Even though he was 15 years younger, she resolved to marry this man. The next day, she sent his sister to this young man. "Why are you not married yet?" she asked him. "For lack of means," he answered. "What if I were to offer you a wife of nobility and beauty? Will you be interested?" she asked. "Who is it?" he replied. When she mentioned her sister, the young man chuckled in amazement. "How could I marry her? She has turned down the most noble men in the city. They were much wealthier and prominent than this poor shepherd." But the sister replied, "Don't you worry, I will take care of it." Not long after, the Prophet married Khadija radiyallahu anha. It was the beginning of one of the most loving, happiest, and sacred marriages in all human history. This marriage gave him the loving heart of a woman who consoled him and kept him alive, a flickering flame of hope when no man believed in him. The Prophet lived a wealthy life for many years after that. After they got married, they had 6 children together, 2 boys and 4 girls. But none of the male kids survived, as they both died in their infancy, and both of them were really sad at the loss of their sons. Their daughters, Zainab Ruqayya, Kulthum, and littlest Fatima brought much joy and pleasure into their lives. Many years passed. Once there was a huge flood in Mecca, which destroyed several buildings, including the Kaaba. Everyone was worried. They all wanted to get the repairs done to the Kaaba, but they were worried that some harm might befall on them if they tried to take down the walls. They waited many days, but no one came forward to take down the walls. One day, the leader of the clan, Al-Walid ibn Ali al-Mughira, walked in front of the crowd, took a pickaxe, and struck the corner of the Kaaba. When he struck, a section of one of the walls came crashing down. Everyone was surprised, and they looked at Al-Mughira if something happened to him. They waited for a while, but Al-Mughira remained unharmed. When the leaders saw this, they were reassured and decided to rebuild the Kaaba. They decided to put each major clan to work on a rotating schedule. Stone by stone, the entire Kaaba was carted away. When the workers reached ground level, they found the underlying foundation was made of a large green stone slab. Then they started rebuilding the Kaaba. One by one, they laid the stones. When construction was midway, it was time for them to place the famous black stone. Each clan's leader came forward with an argument that the right to place the fabled black stone belonged to them. The leaders of other tribes disputed their rights, and pretty soon it became a serious issue. No one was able to arrive at a decision. So it was decided that they consult Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to find a solution. The Prophet thought for a while. Then he asked that a large sheet be brought to him. When they got him the sheet, he spread it on the ground and placed the black stone in the middle. Then he said, "Let the leaders of each clan take hold of the edges of this sheet." One by one, the leaders came forward and lifted the sheet in unison. The Prophet led them to the Kaaba as they carried the black stone together. Then they all placed the black stone standing together. Nobody felt slighted, and every clan was participating. The elders too were happy, and they agreed that it was the wisest decision. The Prophet always helped the poor and needy as well. Abu Talib fell into bad times, and the Prophet cleared all his debts using his personal wealth. The Prophet also undertook the education of his uncle's son, Ali, and brought him up. A year later, he adopted Aqil, another of his uncle's sons. Years passed, and the Prophet is in his 30s now. It was a time when there was frequent wars between different regions in Arabia. There was a group of people who worshipped the sun, the moon, and the fire. Then there was this other group who worshipped the idols. All of them fought with each other, claiming their religion to be better. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't join any rebellion against idolatry, even though he didn't participate in the veneration of the idols himself. As the Prophet entered his 30s, he was very confused. He wanted to know the reason why he was alive, and constantly wondered what the purpose of his life was. He yearned for this truth day and night. As he kept pondering over the dilemma, the Prophet slowly began to withdraw from his business and affairs of the city. Did you like the story, kids? If you liked the video, please click the like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget to click the notification icon to keep updated on all our videos. Insha'Allah, I will tell you the next part of the story of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tomorrow. That's all for today. Goodbye.